Okay, I'd like to call to order the July 7th meeting of Township Council here in Concord Township. If we could all please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. We are live streaming the meeting, but if anyone else is recording the meeting, we would ask that you state so now so that if you do have to set up, you don't inconvenience the rest of the audience. I also would like to thank the audience for adhering to our social distancing policy. This, I think, is our first meeting, Mr. Crossan, probably since February? Or, yeah, maybe the March meeting?
Maybe
yeah.
the March,
Yeah,
first March meeting.
So it feels good to be back in the room and having some sort of degree of normalcy, although we're not all the way there. First item on the agenda is the approval of the public meeting minutes of June 2nd regular meeting. Do I have a motion to do so?
So moved.
We have a second. Questions or discussion? Seeing none, all in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next on the agenda is the public total expenditures for the month of $575,654.37, made up of a June payroll of $161,387.23, current bills totaling $281,173.31, and current sewer bills totaling $133,093.83. Motion to approve those expenditures?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Questions or discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. Crossan, I'm going to hand off recognition item number 1. I think, Amanda, if I'm not correct, those that we're recognizing tonight are not in attendance. We will try to get a photo op with them later.
That is correct.
We are all awake.
You don't have to yell at me. I'm sorry. I'm just right here. But anyway, okay, John, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Amanda is a strong manager. Thank you, Mr. President. One of the great joys of being a member of Township Council is being able to recognize accomplishments of citizens in our community. And one of those accomplishments is, in this case, the 100th birthday of our township resident, Kathy Paradiso. So I'm going to go ahead and read this proclamation. Whereas longevity of life is a blessing for an individual and a community which benefits from the knowledge, creativity, and experiences this individual brings to all. And whereas the Township of Concord recognizes with respect and admiration the contribution of senior citizens to our community. And whereas Catherine Paradiso was born on July 9th, 1920, she was one of 11 children, 5 boys and 6 girls, born to parents who immigrated to America from Salandra, Italy. She grew up in South Philadelphia, although she and her family also lived and worked on a farm in South Jersey every year from mid-May through November, picking all kinds of fruits, beans, and vegetables. And whereas Mrs. Paradiso relished her time growing up in a large family with her siblings, one of her favorite pastimes growing up was sewing. She learned to sew at the age of 10, and as an adult, she worked as a seamstress in factories where she made jackets and undergarments, and later made clothing for herself and her children. And whereas Mrs. Paradiso married her husband, Tom Tropia, in 1940, the family started out in South Philadelphia until they moved to Colwyn in the 1950s, where they raised 4 children, have 11 grandchildren, 15 great-grandchildren, and 1 great-grandchild. 1 great-great-grandchild. The couple were married for 56 years until Tom's passing in 1996. And whereas Mrs. Paradiso is currently a resident of Ivy Creek Gracious Retirement Living in Glen Mills, she was born at the end of the last pandemic and is living through the current one. Mrs. Paradiso has witnessed so much history: the Great Depression, Prohibition, wars, space travel, the computer age, and the invention of many modern conveniences, national celebrations and tragedy, and so much more. Now, therefore, be it proclaimed that Concord Township Council and the citizens of Concord Township do honor Mrs. Paradiso for her long life and prosperity and wish her many more years ahead. Mr. President, I so move this proclamation.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Okay. Any questions or discussion? I'd like to know how she lasted that long, and God bless her. But all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think there's a mini parade or a car parade.
I was planning to bring that up during my manager's report. If anyone in town wants to join us, feel free. On Thursday at 2:00 p.m., we will be doing a little car parade for Miss Paradiso, and we'll leave here at the Municipal Building at like 1:50. So if you want to join us and give a little wave and a beep Please do.
Okay, Dana, items 2, 3, 4, and 5, you were on the Scholarship Selection Committee along with Mr. Gillespie, so if you would mind handling those 4 honorees, please.
Yes, thank you. We had the opportunity to review 13 applications, high school senior applications. We asked for them to provide leadership skills, community skills, and an essay on why they would be deserving of these scholarships. And we were able to choose 4 applicants. So the first person is Rebecca Moore. Rebecca has volunteered at the Newland Grissom Mill as an assistant teacher, camp counselor, was a member of Garnet Valley Marching Band, serving in color guard leader and indoor color guard captain. She also was a member of the Future Medical Careers, volunteered with science in the summer camp for Rachel Cole Library, volunteered for St. Thomas Philabundance, as well as a member of the National Honor Society in her junior and senior years. Next, we nominated Brendan Mcgorry. Brendan has served as part of the Community Service Corps for his 4 years at Cardinal O'Hara High School. He has also served as a retreat leadership team member, was a member of Operation Santa Claus, and a member of the National Honor Society for his junior and senior years. He was also a captain for his club and high school hockey teams. Brendan was accepted into engineering school at Penn State University, University Park campus because of his outstanding academic record. The next candidate was Evan Fenster. Evan was a member of the Garnet Valley football team and won the Ambassador Award and Scholar Athlete Award in his senior year. He is a member of the Student Council in his sophomore, junior, and senior years. He co-created the Finance Club, where they ran sales to help raise money for the Minithon, was an officer of the Model United Nations Club, and ran a lawn mowing business of his own. And the final candidate was Vikas Reina. Vikas has been a lifelong resident whose leadership has had him involved in many activities, including working in Maris Grove Blue Sky Restaurant as a trainer, Minithon Communications Chair, STEM Club President, and Finance Club and founder. He was volunteered at Riddle and Crozier Hospitals with the KFS Autism Support, Interact Club, and coaching with BYC Baseball. Vikas has also started up Uplift and Interact, a human library event. He received the Presidential Volunteer Service Award and was a Congressional Gold Medal Award recipient. So I'd like to make a motion to have these 4 certificates awarded the scholarships.
Okay, do we have a second?
Mr. President, I second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
I think this is a project Mr. Gillespie probably started maybe 15 years ago, and I think we first started with 2 scholarships. Now we're up to 4. Hopefully we can increase that, but it's a good way of honoring our young people in the township college. Next part is monthly activity reports. Pennsylvania State Police, I do not see anyone here. Mr. Gillespie is not here for the sewer department report. Code enforcement officer, zoning officer. I think there is no report from Mano either this month. Planning Commission, Mr. Julison, I think you have a report.
President, Council, Planning Commission activities for June 2020. We discussed Martin Jeffrey, which is a final minor subdivision, 229 Thornton Road. Can you hear me? Can you hear me now? Project manager, Ms. Trivedi, reviewed the plan to amend the prior approval given in 2002. The subdivision to eliminate access easement, common driveway at 227 Thornton Road. No site improvements are proposed at this time. The site is located on the east side of Thornton Road between Colonial Circle and Patriot Lane, a residential district. Waivers have been requested. The Planning Commission voted to recommend approval. Michael Wraith, final subdivision, 119 Thornton Road. Michael Wright went on record that he is the solicitor of the Planning Commission and had no direct involvement regarding the application. Capacity as solicitor. Ms. Trivedi, project manager, reviewed the lot line revision between 119 Thornton Road and the property owner of 125 Thornton Road to convey 1.0896 acres to the race. No site improvement are proposed. The Planning Commission voted to recommend council. Team Toyota expansion, preliminary final application. 1050 Baltimore Pike. Lower, the project manager reviewed the application and the plan to expand present dealership to include 22,400 square feet on a .96 acres. The existing car dealership on the site is 21.2 acres, currently contains 35,356 square feet. New car sales building 13,858 square feet of used car sales. The site located on Baltimore Pike is C2 and light industrial zoning districts. No development is proposed in the light industrial district. Access is right in and right out Baltimore Pike. The property received a special exception in 2001, subsequently amended with a special exemption in January 2015. Building modifications were completed, but the collision center was not completed. In an email from the zoning hearing board, solicitor dated April 13th, 2020, it was his opinion that new application for special exception was not required. The applicant requests 3 waivers. 160-9H preliminary final from a 16050.B to permit alternative locations for the foundation plantings so that they could be located elsewhere on the property. And 160-40-C.1 to allow 6-inch curb reveal to be reduced to 5-inch curb reveal as it presently exists today. The Planning Commission recommends approval of this plan with 3 waivers. Any questions or issues, concerns identified in review letters. Benmoni dated June 8th, 2020. Thomas Committee
No.
dated
Excuse me, Maureen, you have to keep that chair right there. They are set up, there's a setup to the room, and we're not going to deviate from it. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
March 23rd, 2020. Bradford Engineers dated April 21st, 2020. Delaware County Planning Commission dated May 22nd, 2020. Finally, the Fire Marshal review dated June 2020. Schedule for the month. The agenda meeting will be held on July 13th, 2020. Public meeting will be held on July 20th, 2020. The caucus meeting will be on July 20th.
No, thanks, Rich. Solicitor, Mr. Donahue. Is it on? Thank you. Township Engineer, Nate Klein.
Again, with some
Just to reiterate what Nate said with regard to solar at the sewer plant, we did look into installing a solar field at the sewer plant. However, basically the short version is the municipality pays such a low rate for electricity that the cost to install the solar plant just did not make sense from a financial perspective to switch to solar versus continuing at our low electricity rates.
But it was consistent in our,
Make it right up to the mic.
our request of you to look at our sustainability and also the economics of doing it. So we explored it, it didn't work, and I'm glad you're looking at other things as far as the energy audit and things of that nature. Okay. Okay. Sounds good. Amanda, Township Manager's report, please.
Sure. I just want to note for folks at home, I know I'm getting some texts, particularly from my husband, who's telling me he can't hear people. We're having some technical difficulties. We're hoping to work on them in the future. We actually have a game plan to get better speakers in here and to have the microphones work better with some new system upgrades. So thank you, everyone, for your patience as we are trying to get these things working. I know it's also very difficult with the masks and trying to speak through that. Users for microphones, try to be as close to it as you can and speak loud if you can. So additionally, I just want to remind council, when you're voting on items, please raise your hand if you're a first or a second. Folks at home might not know exactly who's doing what. So if you could do that, that would be extremely helpful. Additionally, any folks who want to come up for public comment, there is hand sanitizer right next to that with a spray for disinfectant. Just spray the mic when you leave, please. So that way we can make sure the next person comes up, it'll be appropriate or clean for them. COVID, anyway. Additionally, I just wanted to note for council, we did have our 2019 audit. It was clean. There were no findings, and I plan in August to provide some type of an update for the public so they can get a better understanding. I'll try to provide a lay understanding of what was in that and what was notable. Additionally, just to reiterate sort of what Nate gave an update on, I'm not sure if everybody could hear him at home, but we do have a lot of projects in the balance. If you look at our budget and what was passed with capital projects in mind this year, we have a lot of things in the balance. We have a lot of planting, beautification projects. We have some sustainability projects, preservation projects, huge construction projects. And if folks want to see what those are, you can go to our budget, which is available online. Additionally, due to COVID, we were set back a little bit. As everybody knows, construction was not really happening for a little bit of a time there. We basically all lost a quarter. So we are trying to move forward. A lot of those projects we hope to at least begin and hope to finish, but they might carry into the next year, just to keep folks aware of that and to have patience with us as we're trying to get a lot of these things tackled while we're still able to and in the green. And I think that's it. Thanks.
Thank you. Next portion of the meeting is public comment. I think I would defer. Next portion of the meeting is public comment. I think I'll defer to those in the audience first, and then we'll go through those that have emailed any questions. Does anyone from the audience have any question? They would please come up to the microphone. I think Amanda explained the mechanics of how to
Thank you.
and get close to the microphone and name, address, and what you're.
Maureen Hewitt, 19 Brook Lane, Chadsford.
Maureen, try to keep your mask on. You're getting,
Sorry.
thank you.
That sort of defeats the purpose.
I
of
know. Sorry.
Sorry. Yeah, it sort of does purpose.
Right on the mic.
You were saying that you're back in court with Pulte and no decisions have been made, but you're doing negotiations. Where are those negotiations? Oh, keep your on. Or have, I get it. But we have no idea, like, are we going to let them put residential there, or will it go to trial, or what? I get it, I hear you. So we have decided to let them do residential, you're just negotiating density?
I think we are defending ourselves in court, and we'll see what happens.
Okay. Okay, and I guess before you take a final call on it, we'll know or follow it? Okay, okay. And I know you're having the grand opening of your dog park this month, I believe, later in the month.
Yes, we are.
I'm looking forward to it. I just want to make sure that we all have the same understanding that when you cut the ribbons on the new dog park, you're not closing the old.
I think we've said it many, many occasions that that's part of our consideration, the existing dog park, regarding the overall use of the Bethel Road site. So at present, I think if I look at my colleagues on the council, there is no plan to discontinue the use of that dog park at this time, or maybe ever. But right now.
Though I
that's
do
where
think
we
it's
are.
important to
That's
note.
so exciting. Thank you.
Maureen, I do think it's important to note that we just did design and build the new dog park with the intention of moving and closing the old dog park. So I don't want you to get the wrong impression. The timing has not been decided, but
Time is our friend. Right now, it's a dog park. You're agreeing with me that you're not going to close it when you snip the ribbon. That's all I need.
No,
That's
that was
correct.
never, we never said we were going to do that. We're studying the use of that piece of ground. I think Mr. Crossan said it exactly. When we get done with the study, we'll know. But you're right. The minute that one opens does not mean that the other one's closing.
Okay, well, I'm glad you stopped me because then let's reiterate. I will know or you will make some kind of announcement before I pull up that driveway and those paddocks are down. We'll talk about it. At one point, we agreed that I could be included talking about it, not that I would get what I wanted. But I just want to reiterate that it's not coming down without us discussing it.
Maureen, you've made your intentions very clear, and the council is fully aware of the position that you have. Ultimately, it's a council decision and the use, overall use.
Ultimately, it's what?
Ultimately, it's a council decision
Right.
based off, that includes public input, and that the overall use of that site is determined by the township staff, by the council, as well as it will be guided by the master plan that is developed.
That has not been developed yet, and we have no idea what's going in it, correct?
We have applied for a grant to initiate that plan later this year.
I know you applied for a grant, but you said that you applied for a grant to do an overall design on the.
Maureen, it feels like you're trying to elicit.
I'm just trying
very-
not to show up and have the dog park not be there, John.
I understand.
Don't take it any further than that.
I
Just want us
understand.
to be on the same page.
I understand, and we've had many conversations, you and I, before, and we will again.
Only a few, and they didn't go well, but such is life. And that grant you applied for was to do an overall master plan, correct? That's a yes. Thanks.
Thanks.
Anyone else from the audience? Seeing none, oh, yes, ma'am. Please come forward.
My name is Mackenzie Lindquist. I live at 2302 Coventry Lane in Glen Mills. Following up with what Maureen said with regards to the dog park, I also am adamant about using that dog park, utilizing the dog park. I attend nearly every day with my dog. It's the only way that I've made any connection at that dog park. That said, one of the benefits of it, and especially the surrounding space that it provides in the event of a dog from a location that is fenced in, which I've seen typically does happen and routinely does happen. Do you guys have any measures in place that you plan to prevent this at the Ridge Dog Park?
One of the things, thank you for that. One of the things that we're looking at is We have some options for higher fencing as well to go around the new dog park. And so while that's not able to be installed right up front, we want to evaluate the new dog park. And of course, we're always going to be open to making changes and perfecting it and making it better for the community.
Well, if you're looking to make it better for the community, why would you and make it into 1/3 size? There's currently 2 pens that offer doubly what is available at what relocated.
I was here when we started the first dog park, and the only reason those pens are that size because the horse paddocks were that size. And if you look at the wood fence that was around it, that was the perimeter of the dog park. I think they're probably both the same size. When I'll defer to my engineer, but everything I've seen, usually the small dog park is smaller in area than the large dog park. The other reason the fence is so tall is because that was the height of the horse fence. Notice we basically just put some wire mesh from there to the ground. And for lack of a better word, the sally port where the dogs enter is basically the old paddock. So it was not laid out that they would be that big. It just so happens that we were trying to do it very economically, and we used the size of a horse paddock for the dog park. There was no science to it. It was we had just bought the piece of ground. We said, let's put a dog park there, and we tried it.
Right, which is totally understandable, but it's the availability that it creates at this current location is something that it brings people from other communities to utilize this because it is so different and it is so perfect. And there are so many members of the community who aren't members of the township, but they would be willing to pay a membership. They'd be willing to.
I think, as Mr. Crossan said, that would enter into the discussion when we start studying what to do with the park.
Absolutely. And one of the things that we want to keep in mind is that the township offers our facilities and amenities for the residents of this township, not for the broader township as it is. You'll see soon that we're going to create rules for the new pickleball courts. It is restricted to township residents. And so while I can appreciate that folks may travel far and wide to this, there are other dog parks in the area. In Wilmington, Beaver Valley has thousands of acres which are preserved, which Maureen was quite involved with, as was I. And so there's many opportunities to do that. And to Dominic's point, we designed this new dog park with dogs in mind. The current dog park was designed with horses in mind, and all dogs that are currently using it are smaller than horses. So while the new dog park is smaller than the old dog park, please don't think of it as being less than ideal. And we look forward to you and everyone who uses the current dog park being open to the new dog park and the investment and thought that was put into that new facility, which was quite substantial.
Okay. Ma'am, can I have your address again, please?
2302 Coventry Lane, Glen.
Okay. Trying to remember where Coventry Lane is.
It's within Madison,
Pardon?
the Madison apartment.
Oh, okay. Got you. Sounds good.
It's actually not Concord Township, though, I don't believe. No, it's behind Ashley's bar, back in there. You're past the Wawa. You're not actually a township resident, that's all.
Okay, no.
That's what he was trying to determine.
Okay.
No problem.
Well, I still am one of the people who do utilize that park often, and I said, among others, have extreme concerns about the park, whether I'm a township resident or not.
Mm-hmm.
It's extremely concerning, the size of the fence,
Okay.
such a that ultimately, I know that, I guess if I'm not a township member, I'm not supposed to do it anyway, but I know that I can't do that with the size of the fence, because my dog can nearly jump the fence that is established for horses, and she's not a crazy athletic dog by any means, but if there's someone who's enticing her or a dog on the other side of the fence, she's going to do what she wants to do to try and get that dog, top a fence. For dogs, if anyone's ever been to a dog park, they would recognize that. Especially on the closest side of that street. I would think it's a liability for you guys to
Okay.
allow.
Well, as Mr. Crossan said, this is part of a master plan over there. We will be, John, I guess as part of that master plan, we'll eventually have to have a hearing on it. And at that time, these sentiments could be expressed maybe once we figure out exactly what we visualize that park's ultimate use to be. Okay,
And
thank
to
you.
your point about the new dog park, we are going to continue to look at it and make modifications if need be, because certainly we want the health, safety, and welfare of everyone who uses that, the citizens and the dogs. So we have been looking into additional options on the fencing. So, please, by all means, we'll be looking for your feedback on that.
Okay,
Thank
I
you.
think we can, anyone else regarding anything other than the dog park? No, if it's with the dog park, Maureen, I think we've heard enough. We have a very big agenda here tonight.
Site.
That's fine, so be it. But it's Concord's property, and Concord will ultimately decide what happens to it. Thank you. All right, moving on in the agenda. Anyone else from the audience? No. We have 5 emails. Mr. Crossan, I would like you to handle item number 1, since it has to do with the shopping center at Ridge Road in 202, which for the last almost 20 years I have recused myself from any discussions on it, and I don't feel it's appropriate that I will answer a question on that. So I will leave that one up to you.
Duly noted, Mr. President. Thank you. We received an email from Allie Hollish, who is a resident of Smithbridge Estates, which is the neighborhood behind Whole Foods. And she says she's writing to voice her comments and questions with regard to the new shopping center at Ridge Road in 202, which is the Pet Narrow site across from Whole Foods. Will the public have any say in what goes into this shopping center? Was there an evaluation done on current business to see what is needed in this shopping center? And are there any ideas to shape this shopping center so it's more of a gathering space like Peddler's Village in Bucks County? Is there any plan to use part of this land as a park? Will it be all commercial, or will some of the space be preserved? So with regard to this question, we have various zoning districts within the township, and this is a commercially zoned zoning district. And so as such, it is not a park or a mixed-use area, which may be something she may be this resident may be referring to. There are requirements for open space, a certain percentage of the land to be open space, though not necessarily a park. And so this plan meets those criteria as set forth in the ordinance. Maureen? Thank you. And then with regard to the questions around is there any say going into the shopping center, evaluation done around current business trends, those are really beyond what the scope of what the township is allowed to do from our ordinances. Those are really driven by the market. And so the owner developer will determine what's the best use for that shopping center, set their rental rates and a target mix. And of course, it's also driven by retailers themselves and who would like to be in this area based off of their business needs. And so that's not something that the township is particularly involved in. If anyone would like to contact Pet Narrow directly, they are certainly welcome to contact them and make their desires known. But again, that's really driven by the market.
Public comment. There was an email from Gene Goebel on Quaker Lane regarding questions regarding 711 Concord Road. Mr. Donahue, when that came in, there was quite a list of concerns and questions, and I think council decided to hand that off to you in order to maybe address these issues. And I think I'll turn this portion of the agenda over to Mr. Donahue. Give him the handheld.
Testing. Yes.
Yeah.
If I may, Mr. Goebel has presented 2 sets of questions. I'll start with question 1. That question, it reads as follows. Dear Council, was disappointed to see the YouTube video of the June 9th meeting and hear my one submitted concern not addressed. Then to have Mr. Donahue actually fabricate a second question, which he attributed to me, was not submitted by me. What's up with that? Please review the video record at the 24-minute mark for my concern. The attached email is my submission prior to the meeting. Instead of answering my concern, seeking confirmation the township's emergency outdoor dining resolution would not apply to restaurants explicitly forbidden by code, parens, restaurants on parcels which border residential zoning, end of parens, from having outdoor dining. Mr. Donahue stated the following: as a result of the emergency resolution passed by the council to help local restaurants, this is certainly permissible under the emergency resolution. Contrast Mr. Donahue's statement to the language in item 7 of the emergency resolution, which states all township code enforcement regulations must be followed. Here are a couple of the codes which would prohibit any outdoor dining at 711 Concord Road. A. 10119 B5B. No outside restaurant is permitted with respect to any restaurant property which borders a residential district. B. 10187B3. Structures are forbidden in a floodplain, and 210-184C, which states floodplain ordinances trump any other less restrictive ordinance, including 38-2020. 2, then at the 25-minute mark in the video, Mr. Donahue claims my next question was about closing outdoor dining in the green phase. There is no next question on the attached, so why would he attribute his comments over the following 60 seconds to me? Continuing, my inquiry was not about outdoor dining in general. It was about a specific property which is not zoned for outdoor dining. The property is located adjacent to a residential neighborhood and is located entirely within a floodplain. Next paragraph, regarding Mr. Torski's inquiry at the same meeting, phone or video call in during the council meeting, as the Township Planning Commission did this month, please reconsider his suggestion, as it would have prevented the township's failed response to my fair and reasonable concern. Lastly, could the township possibly try responding again via email as soon as possible to my attached 6/2/2020 submittal? That is essentially what I just read. I would also like to receive a copy of the permit for the outdoor dining at 711 Concord Road, which I asked for via a 6/3/2020 email. I am still awaiting a response. Mr. Goebel is correct, and he did correctly recite. He's correct in that he correctly recited the code provisions. However, these provisions went into effect many years ago. Specifically, 5 years ago, a provision was passed which would not allow outdoor dining adjacent to a residential neighborhood. Obviously, this was pre-COVID. Obviously, 5 years ago, the COVID crisis and the declared state of emergency were not in effect. As you are all aware, a national, state, and the township all declared emergency COVID in March and April of this year, and passed various orders, executive orders, resolutions, and other measures to accommodate the citizens and businesses as a result of the COVID crisis. The Township of Concord passed resolutions number 31, 2020, and 38, 2020, respectively, to set forth and create procedures and policies to deal with this crisis. Specifically, resolution number 38, 2020 was passed. This resolution allows all restaurants to proceed with outdoor dining on a temporary basis through October 15th, 2020, so to this October. This was done by council pursuant to Governor Wolf's executive orders of May 2020 as it pertained to restaurants. Specifically, declared that in the yellow phase, outdoor dining would be permissible, that in the green phase, both outdoor dining and indoor dining would be permissible. However, indoor dining was limited. The council, in light of these orders, and at the request of many business owners in the township, authorized the measure to create and allow expansion of outdoor dining in all districts of the township to protect the public good and the welfare of the business community. In fairness, all restaurants were provided this opportunity, regardless of location, on a temporary basis, to help with the economic survival of these businesses. Next, Mr. Goebel, you are correct that you did not present a specific question regarding the closure of outdoor dining during the green phase. However, you and you alone, at the bottom of your email of June 2nd, noted specifically, quote, green phase dash resume dash dine-in service. I was merely explaining facts. That is, that even in the green phase, a restaurant is only allowed up to a 50% capacity, assuming customers can be seated 6 feet apart, that bar pet patrons can be seated 6 feet apart, and there will be no standing is permitted inside the restaurant. For all of these reasons, the council, in my opinion, has acted legally, reasonably, and appropriately. Thank you. Now I'm going to move on to question number 2. Mr. Goebel, in a email I dated June 19th, indicates, Dear Concord Township, please read the following statement and question at the next council meeting. Do not paraphrase any of the below text. Please read it verbatim. I've attached a reference PowerPoint slide pack on the issue containing code language, documents, and photos, which would be helpful to the township in response to the below question. And that information will be available. I'm sure the township manager will attach whatever documents and photos Mr. Goebel supplies. I'm going to go on and read his statement. Statement is as follows. Old James Pool property, 711 Concord Road, started development in the 1800s as a commercial industrial property. At that time, little, if any, regulation existed. On December 7th, 1982, Concord Township Chapter 10 zoning code became effective. Property received C1 zoning as it contained a retail pool business. That day, the property was presumably an existing nonconformance. Several setbacks did not adhere to the newly passed requirement, and nearly the entire property is located within the township's floodplain, which prohibits any structures, buildings, or impervious parking. Since that 1982 date, the following have occurred. This is according to Mr. Goebel. 2 buildings have been condemned and abandoned by township code definition, thus losing all non-conforming rights by code. 1 building, 100% lost to fire in 2008, thus losing all non-conforming rights by code. 1 building, 721 Concord Road, on the same parcel, has never been used, thus losing all non-conforming rights. Parens, side note, has never been paid 1 dime in property tax. Parens. Every other building on the property has had over 1 year of township-defined, quote, abandonment, end of quote, which causes loss of non-conformance rights per code. All outdoor storage areas which have been in use prior to December 7th, 1982, have since undergone periods of more than 3 months non-use, thus surrendering all non-conforming rights. The Township floodplain ordinance has been largely ignored in the last 17 years, with significant violating impervious parking increases signed off by the township. Additionally, new toxic material, structures, equipment, retaining walls, solid board fencing, and regrading all approved by the township in violation of the floodplain ordinance. Much authorized by various architects producing site plans with disclaimer, note plan, parens, labeled site plan, and a parens, should not be used for site engineering, then knowingly misrepresenting structures not contained within the property boundaries on the property. Township then accepting this violating practice. Township has signed off without required special exceptions and variances for new buildings. Per the Code of Federal Regulations at 44 CFR 59.22, the township must follow their floodplain ordinance or risk the entire community being removed from participation in the National Flood Insurance Program. Dozens of citations and warnings have been issued by the township on the property, some taking several years to correct, never reimbursement from property owner to township for time spent, never allowable penalties enforced. 3 residential neighbors have sent written complaints to the township regarding the property. This is an abridged list to limit reading time. Now I'm going to get to the question. Question. The township has possession and/or has been provided historic photos, code quotations, property tax records, occupational privilege tax records, local service tax records, annual commercial inspection reports, sales inspection reports to confirm the above statement. With the township being fully aware of these well-documented facts, what is the township's mitigation plan to follow the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's ruling on the definition of land development? Presumably, your mitigation plan would drive variances, special exceptions, and accurate surveys. Additionally, the Delaware County Conservation District, PennDOT, FEMA, New and Gristmill National Flood Insurance Program, and the impacted community would be engaged correct. So I will now address the questions. It would appear that there are 3 questions. I will label them A, B, and C. Question A, I'll repeat. With the township being fully aware of these well-documented facts, what is the township's mitigation plan to follow the Pennsylvania Supreme Court's ruling on the definition of land development? Concord Township does not own this property. This is private property. Consequently, the township has no land development plans for the property. Also, the township has no township mitigation plan for the property. Also, the definition of land development is set forth in the MPC, is not set by the Supreme Court of Pennsylvania. The Supreme Court of Pennsylvania case, which you refer, deals with land development as it applied to a billboard in Upper Southampton Township. The case is the Upper Southampton case. That case does not set forth a mitigation plan as required by the MPC. Now, also, the township has addressed on various occasions a list of your complaints. You have spoken to the township manager. You have spoken to the township code enforcement officer. You have spoken to the township engineer. You have spoken to myself, all at various times over the course of the last 6 months. As a result of those conversations, we agreed with you on some issues. We did not agree with you on other issues. However, as a result of our conversations, you did bring to our attention a concern concerning a code violation concerning some outdoor lighting for which the subject property was cited. My understanding is there have been some corrective measures made. I don't know if that's satisfactory. I will leave that to the code enforcement officer. You also made a complaint concerning floodplain violations. That is presently being investigated by the code enforcement officer. His investigation is completed. He will report the same to the township manager and council. We'll now proceed to question B. Presumably, your mitigation plan would drive variances, special exceptions, and accurate surveys. As I indicated earlier, there is no mitigation plan. Question C. Additionally, the Delaware County Conservation District, PennDOT, FEMA, New and Gristmill National Flood Insurance Program, and the impacted community would be engaged correct. The Township Code Enforcement Officer, as I've aforementioned, is currently investigating this alleged floodplain violation and will take the appropriate steps after his findings are complete. Township will contact the appropriate parties when that investigation. Finally, it is my understanding, Mr. Goebel, that you and either the present property owners or the past property owners of 711 Concord Road have been involved in prior private litigation concerning the property. This was a legal dispute, I believe, that was litigated in the courts of common pleas of Delaware County. Accordingly, the township is not going to become involved in a legal dispute between two private property owners. However, the township will respond, when appropriate, to violations of the code. Again, I will reiterate, the township will not become involved on either behalf of Mr. Goebel and or behalf of the owners of 711 Concord Road in their disputes unless there is cause to do so. Thank you very much, President.
Yes, please, come on forward, please. Still part of public comment.
Anthony Pinney, a practicing trial attorney in media since 1995. I'm here tonight representing the owners of 711. I'm here tonight for them, and I've had discussions with the township solicitor, Mr. Donahue. He is correct. There was past litigation involving Mr. and my client. And all I want to do is just introduce myself and say we will confront any viable, credible evidence when it's presented. But again, I want to make sure that you know that my clients are here tonight. They believe that we have. Once we're confronted with things that are viable and credible, that's all I have.
Thank you. Okay, next on the list of public comment that was emailed or called in, Becky Diamond was a voicemail that basically missed last month's meeting. She's from Maris Grove, and she had a question about the opening of the pickleball courts, which I think we have already resolved. There will be a grand opening ceremony on July 15th of this, I guess next week yet, at 10 a.m., and the pickleball courts would be open. Next one is from David Cleary. It was an email, and I thought we had answered this, but it goes back to the 72 Schoolhouse Lane property. He had asked a question regarding there was an amount of blacktop pavement that was installed in front of the barn. This was the non-conforming use that is used as a contractor shop on Schoolhouse Lane, and the Historical Commission does not have any input into whether something gets paved or not. The second part of it was, mentions an age-old story from Mr. Cleary regarding a 17-year-old civil action that was settled. He wanted to know if there was a stormwater management application to perform this paving. Site inspections by our code enforcement officer and engineer was that the blacktop was covering a existing pervious coverage, therefore it did not need any stormwater management permit applications, which I also think answers question number 3. So hopefully we have answered those questions to his satisfaction. If not, I'm sure we'll receive another email tomorrow bright and early. Next one is from Joshua Tversky on Cedar Grove Lane. I want to read this one into the record. In the past few meetings, I have asked about conflicts related to Councilmember Mahoney's voting monthly on his wife's pay and Councilmember Pileggi's conflicts with developer Pentanaro. The solicitor has spoken to these items. Does the solicitor bill separately when preparing to speak to these, or is it included in his monthly retainer? Mr. Donahue?
Certainly. Thank you. 1, there are no conflicts. 2, it's the monthly retainer. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, moving right along in the agenda, under new business, first item is Resolution 40 of 2020, Team Toyota Preliminary Final Land Development Plan, 22,400 square foot expansion. Nate, are you going to put any of these up, or how are we going to do this?
Doing it
It's
right now.
been so long, it's going to come back to me once we get started that we've done one of these. Go ahead.
Yep, Amanda's got the site up right now. This is the existing Toyota dealership on Baltimore Pike.
Nate, if I can interrupt you, I see Mr. Jarosz, you're here on behalf of the applicant.
I am, Mr. Pilecki.
Thank you.
Good evening, everyone.
As council probably recalls, about 2 years ago, a land development plan was approved for this site. At the time, it was a second building to the rear of this site, about twice the size of the proposed expansion. That plan was never acted upon. The applicant is back in front of us today with an amended plan proposing an addition to the existing building and some other minor modifications. This has been reviewed by Pannoni, Thomas Committa, Planning Commission, Fire Marshal, County, et cetera. Planning Commission recommended approval along with 3 waivers, which I believe Mr. Julison had recited previously. And that's about it. I think that's the short version of it. Mr. Jarosz has any further explanation on this project?
I think you did an excellent job, Mr. Klein. I just want to point out to the board, I'm here this evening with Lisa Diskin, representing the applicant, and to my right, Roberto Espina from Bowler Engineering to answer any questions the board may have.
Okay, if everyone's okay, I think we'll take a stab at a resolution here. Resolution number 40 of 2020, preliminary final land development plan dated March 23rd, 2020. I think Nate recited the preparation and who prepared it and the scope of work. It would be approved subject to the following 13 conditions. Number 1, compliance with all comments contained in the Pannoni review letter dated June 8th, 2020. And all these letters are attached as exhibits. Number 2, compliance with comments contained in the Delaware County Planning Commission review letter dated May 22nd, 2020. Number 3, compliance with all comments contained in the Thomas Committa Associates review letter dated April 20th, 2020. Number 4, compliance with all comments contained in the Fire Marshal's email dated June 8th, 2020. Number 5, compliance with all comments contained in the Bradford Engineering Associated review letter dated April 21st, 2020. Number 6, compliance with the Concord Township Zoning Hearing Board decision and order dated January 23rd, 2015, and each of the conditions that were set forth therein. Number 7, the applicant shall contribute $2,500 to the township for construction of the 30 feet of sidewalk along Route 1 from the terminus of the existing sidewalk to Applied Card Way, with payment to be made to the township prior to the release of the signed plans. Nate, if we can expand on that one, I think we have a grant to do the 4 corners there.
Correct. A project on the township's capital budget is to complete the sidewalk connection across Clyde Bank Boulevard, essentially on the south side of Baltimore Pike. It would connect Toyota, Mainline Health, and that side of the street to Crossroads Center and further west.
So
The township got a grant from PennDOT to complete that work. This contribution will certainly assist in us completing this project. Further, the Home 2 site adjacent will be installing some sidewalk along Applied Bank Boulevard, so we're really going to get close to getting that whole nexus of sidewalk complete.
But I would think from a logistical standpoint, it makes sense to get this money and do this all at one time rather than have 30 feet leading to nowhere as it does now.
Exactly right.
Right, number 8, the final location of a painted crosshatch area denoting pedestrian walkway internal to the site from the existing Route 1 sidewalk to the main entrance of the dealership, as shown on the drawings, will be field determined by the applicant and township engineer and finished by the applicant prior to the issuance of the certificate of occupancy. Number 6, installation of an additional fire hydrant by Chester Water Authority, location subject to approval by the fire marshal. Number 10, applicant shall submit color architectural elevation and color board materials for review and approval by council prior to release of the signed plans. Approval of the elevations and materials for the building shall be obtained prior to the issuance of any building permits. All building improvements are to be constructed as per the approved architectural elevations, including screening of any rooftop mechanical equipment. 11, developer agrees to enter into a development, improvement, and security agreement prior to the release of the signed plans. Number 12, plans are submitted in electronic format acceptable to township engineer. And 13, payment of an open space park and rec fee in lieu, the amount of $7,040 as per Resolution 6 of 2020 shall be made prior to the release of the signed plans. There are 3 waivers from 169H to allow a joint preliminary final plan submission. 160D, I think these 2 were recited by Mr. Julison in his report. It was regarding the foundation planning. 16040C, and it was about the reveal on the curb. That being said, I would ask for a motion to approve. I would ask for a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye. Are the conditions acceptable to the applicant? Mr. Jaros, this is the most quiet you have been in this room. Close to.
It's the new me, Mr. Pileggi. Yes, we have reviewed these conditions with the applicant, and the applicant finds
And I
it
want to thank
acceptable.
yourself and your team. It was very tough getting this back in the batting order. I want to thank our Planning Commission Chairman we have 3 plans tonight that we're moving forward. Your diligence and your efforts in keeping the ball moving in light of this virus that we're all facing are commendable. So if you pass them along to the troops, it would be most appreciated. Okay.
Mr. President, I'll just one note to clarify for folks that are watching as well, they didn't hear earlier. With regard to the waiver about permitting alternate locations for foundation plantings on the site, this landscaping plan has been recommended by the township landscaping consultant, and there is no reduction in the required planting quantities. I believe in past, when this waiver or similar waivers have come up, there's been questions around that. And so I just want to clarify and underline that there's no reduction in the required planting quantities.
Thank you. Okay, never mind. Resolution 41 of 2020, 119 Thornton Road, Wraith, final minor lot line change, excuse me.
So we have the plan up here. I do not believe the owner is here this evening. Thank you very much. There we go. That's perfect. This is Thornton Road. This is just on the opposite side of the township building heading north towards Thornton. Alden Avenue is right here. The bridge over the creek, Chester Creek, is right here. The existing property is 2 lots. And essentially what's happening by this plan.
John?
Essentially what this plan is proposing is to take the gray hatched area from the front lot and transfer it to the rear lot. Very straightforward plan. There are some easements for the existing driveway and utilities going along the front here. Right along this area too. So this is a very straightforward, we call it a minor lot line change plan. The owners of the 2 properties are family, so they're transferring the property from one to the other. Planning Commission reviewed it, Fire Marshal, Sewer Department, myself, County. Again, approval is recommended, and we've prepared a draft resolution for council's approval, or review, I should say.
Okay, if everybody's okay, we'll take a stab at a resolution, number 41 of 2020, final minor subdivision, Wraith, Yanez, 119 and 125 Thornton Road. We've already recited the site and the intent of the plan. It has 6 conditions. First one, compliance with all comments contained in the Pannoni review letter dated June 3rd, 2020, copy attached. 2, compliance with all comments contained in Delaware County Planning Commission review letter dated May 21st, 2020, copy also attached. 3, signed, sealed, surveyor certification and placements of monuments and pins must be filed with the township prior to recording the signed plan. Number 4, the deed for the Wraith property shall indicate that further subdivision is prohibited. Number 5, plans are to be submitted in electronic format acceptable to the township engineer. 6, the legal descriptions for each lot and all new easements are to be submitted for review and approval by the township engineer and township solicitor prior to the release of the signed plans. We have a motion to approve that resolution.
So moved.
We have a second. All in favor? Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, next one is Resolution 42, 229 Thornton Road. Looks like must have been a night for housekeeping on subdivisions, Nate. Little lot line adjustments or what?
Yep, same thing. This is a little bit of an odd, squirrely one. It's about a 20-year-old subdivision, 2 lots with a front lot with a rear lot. At the time, there was a condition of approval that the driveways be combined into shared driveways. The current owner of the front lot is requesting that condition be removed from the plan, so he submitted a amended plan requesting that be removed. Nothing is being proposed to be built, just that condition that they have shared driveways be removed. Both driveways have been in place for approximately 20 years. Both are permitted by PennDOT. We have reviewed the site distance with the design engineer. and we have no issues. So this is, again, just a little bit of a housekeeping thing as the owner looks to sell the front lot here.
Okay. Any questions for Nate?
I'm sorry, same thing. The fire marshal, planning commission, county all reviewed the plan. No comments of significance.
Okay, take another one here. Resolution 42, 2020, amended final minor subdivision, Martin 227, 229 Thornton Road. Nate has already recited the specifics of it. It has 6 conditions. Number 1, compliance with all comments contained in the Frenoni review letter dated May 11th, 2020, attached here to as Exhibit A. 2, compliance with all comments contained in the Delaware County Planning Department review letter dated May 21st, 2020, attached again. Confirmation that the PennDOT required site distance exists for each PennDOT permitted driveway with site distances noted on plan. 4, plans to be submitted in electronic format acceptable to the township engineer. And lastly, confirmation from the county recorder of deeds that the existing access easement has been abolished on both properties. Is there a motion to approve that resolution?
So moved, Mr. President.
Do we have a second? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is Resolution 43 of 2020, Pickleball Court Rules and Regulations. I think in order to start this off, we probably should have a motion in a second. I know there's going to be some discussions and some amendments to it. So would someone like to make a motion to approve this resolution? Somebody like a motion to second?
Second.
Mr. Crossan, I'm going to give you the microphone. I think you have some amendments you would like to suggest.
Correct. So with regard to the first paragraph regarding pickleball hours and closures, then it says the pickleball courts will be available for use from April 1st to November 1st, weather permitting. And I would like to move that we amend this resolution to delete during the hours of 7 a.m. and 8 p.m. daily, and say from dawn to dusk daily. And then it says, in the event the township perceives a need to close the facility for any reason, notice of such closure shall be posted at the entrance of the facility. And I'd like to move that we add an online when possible. Down under the regulations, in the 4th bullet point, it says no bicycles, skateboards, roller skates, roller blades, or pets are allowed on the courts. And I would like to move that we amend this to add and scooters. And we received some feedback regarding when players, the bullet regarding when players are waiting. I am open to further discussion around that, but I'm not sure I fully understand the rationale for a request from a resident Betty Elkhorn with regard to that. So the bullet reads, whenever there are players waiting, all players without reservation must vacate the courts after playing 15 minutes or one game. Winners shall have no prior rights to remain on the courts. So, Betty, would you please speak to your request?
Betty Alcorn, Maris Grove. On that item, I suggested that you add 15 minutes for one game, whichever occurs first. Some players like to spend the time they're on the court, so they keep changing the score that they're playing to. So if their score is 8-6, all of a sudden the next time they call the score, they might score 4-3, which then allows them to play for a longer period of time. If you want to use 15 minutes, that's great. If you want to use one game and they're being honest, that's great. But if you put down whichever occurs first, moving, and avoid the issue of changing the score. Because at 15 minutes, they cut off, whether they were at 8-6 or a game was over at 15 minutes.
Okay.
If they finished their game earlier, then vacate the court earlier.
Thank you, Betty. I appreciate that clarification. So with that clarification, I think that sounds reasonable.
Yep.
So I also move that we amend the end of that sentence to say after playing 15 minutes or one game, comma, whichever comes first. So those are the series of amendments that I make in one motion. Is there a second to
Is there a
that
second to that one? or
amendment?
Second.
Any questions or discussions? I can live with all that. Okay, all those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Hey, Betty, we cool? All good?
And then we need to, then, so that was the vote on the amendment, so now we need to return to the original vote for the resolution.
I thought we did it all in one motion, but yeah, we can do it that way. All right, we're going to do the amended resolution 43 of 2020, approve the pickleball rules and regulations as amended by Mr. Cross.
So moved.
Yes, sir.
Second.
No more questions. Go ahead. Name, please.
Obviously, I'm a pickleball player, and I'm a resident for here almost 5 years now. And
Can we
I'm
have-
also,
Can we have your name?
oh, sorry, my name is Alan Putner, Kutner. I'm sorry. Putner, okay? I live in Maris Grove. Do you want to know the unit? 405 Miller's Run.
Okay.
Okay? Now, as a former lawyer, I see a problem here. And to be honest with you, I don't hear well. I wear 2 hearing aids, and the reverberation here is very bad. So maybe you resolve this. But this is my issue. Under regulations, if you count number 5, it says, only township residents and registered league players are permitted. There are no league players, and this document only says the word league here and nowhere else. Below that, it says clubs and groups must register with the township. So my suggestion is, or my amendment is, strike the word league and instead put on there club and group, so that it would then read, only township residents and registered club and group players
Makes sense.
are permitted on the courts. I think that would be accurate, and I don't know where league came in, but I think it makes it accurate. So
What do you think from a consistency? That's consistent too?
just take the word league out and substitute club and a group, which is the next line.
Perfect.
Well, there has never been a league in 30 years. If there's a league, we'll come in and ask for an amendment.
Okay, so let's make sure we got this right. So we're going to do Resolution 43 of 2020, rules and regulations for use of the Concord Township Pickleball Court, making the corrections suggested by Mr. Cutner and also Mr. Crossan. Let's start over again. So I have a motion to do that.
Just so I'm clear, the league is mentioned twice here. It's in both the bullet about open play times, as well as leagues must register with the township and provide proof of general liability insurance. So we're changing the word league to clubs?
Clubs and groups. Okay, so everywhere where it says leagues, we're going to insert clubs and groups.
The only reason I'm concerned about that is what is the definition of a club or group, and how do we determine that group needs to provide legal liability insurance? I think a league is a more defined thing.
Group, club, all 3.
Yeah, with that.
Where are we? Are we changing it everywhere?
So
Wait.
then maybe,
Mike, what did you?
I think the objective organization have to provide the that's assumption is from the association, whatever clubs register blocks. That was
For the purpose of the ordinance, are we leaving,
The resolution.
what are we doing with the word leagues? Are we replacing, are we using,
I think for Harding's recommendation, broadest phrase.
Mike, which was that again, please? I think, Mr. Donahue, you agree?
I agree.
So anywhere we have leagues or groups, we're going to use those words, groups, comma, associations, comma, clubs or organizations. Okay? Let's start over then. We have some amendments made to Resolution 43 of 2020, suggested by Mr. Crossan, by Mr. Cutner, by discussion between Mr. Donahue and Mr. Harding. Do we need we should have a motion to approve that revised resolution. We're going to trust Amanda kept all these notes,
Got it.
but we have a motion to approve that revised amended resolution. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any further questions or discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
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 Betty, I want to thank you for your diligence and your patience in waiting for this. I know it's been a long time coming. We're almost there.
I also want to add in, please note that we will have an application up on the website by Friday for those groups, clubs, organizations, not leagues, associations, that
All
need
of
to
them, all of them.
register.
It'll be for everybody.
Yep, I'll have it up by Friday, and I'll probably just email you something, Betty, separate, okay? Of course. Great, thanks, Betty.
Thank you. No, it's amen. Yeah, they did a nice job with it. No. Yeah, no, we were yeah. Oh, God. All right, I just got a note from Amanda that item number 5, we will not be acting on tonight, the Concord Woods Store easement agreement. Apparently, there's still some paperwork missing from one side or the other. Item number 6, Mr. Crossan, you were going to handle that?
Thank you, Mr. President. So I move that we reappoint Mary Alice Peeling and Randy Eman to the Rachel Cole Library Board, representing Concord Township, with terms to expire in July 2023.
We have a motion. Do we have a second? Questions or discussions? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next is to authorize the advertisement for bids for the community center and township building construction work. The plan is to take a vacant room on the second floor of this building, very large room, and just give it a coat of paint and some light fixtures so we can use it for backup record storage, and also to take the lower level room of the brick building across the way and finish the last segment of that as a multi-purpose room that could be used by township for other events that might possibly someday be a polling place. So it has ADA entrance and is ADA compliant. We have a motion to authorize the advertisement for bid for those two projects.
So moved.
We have a
Seconded.
second. Any questions or discussions? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Next, since Mr. Gillespie is here, I'm going to do these certificates of payment. We have a certificate of payment number 3 for Gessler Construction in the amount of $172,270.05. It has been approved by the township engineer. And we also have one from Lechmanic, the dog park and volleyball courts, in the amount of $30,325.90. Again, approved by the township engineer. Do I have a motion to make those payments, please? So moved. We have a second.
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
There are no escrow releases. There are no new plans. It's complete for filing. Anybody that's gone down Spring Valley Road might notice that we are doing some construction to the old AME church. We got a CBDG grant from the county to basically make the building weathertight and secure. A part of that work was to rebuild the foundations of the building, and that has been going on. You might notice they've also started on the cornice work. It will be getting a new roof, new windows, a complete scrape and paint job. Try to bring it back, the exterior of it, to make it weathertight. It will also be getting an ADA ramp on one side of the building, so it's ready for future projects there. There will be no work done to the interior at this time, since the community development block grants only cover making a building, protecting it from the outside element. We were able to get a grant to do that, and we're using it. Amanda, you want to bring us up to date on the COVID-19?
Sure. I just wanted to reiterate, we talked about this last time, we are officially in the green phase. However, we are still in a COVID phase. So as per our emergency declaration, council should consider making a motion to amend that and carry that through as we've been doing through our next public meeting. Like this, I think our next one expires on the 10th, which is this Friday. I would suggest that you choose Friday, August 7th. And then again, hopefully we're out of a phase and we can,
I think we had
End
talked
it.
at previous meetings, we would just extend this from month to month. That would be the Friday after our August meeting, and we'll figure out what happens then. Anybody would like to make that motion, or you want to have any discussion on it first, or how you want to handle this?
So moved on, moving
Okay,
the expiration date to August 7th.
we have a motion. Do we have a second?
Second.
Any questions or discussion? All those in favor, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Mr. President, under other council matters, I just want to note that in addition to the small parking lots being constructed, hey, Maureen, you might want to hear this. She's leaving. In addition to the small parking lot that's being constructed over at the AME Church, then a small parking lot is being installed at the Hall site there behind the high school, the open space that was purchased last year. And we have mowed trails on the site, so that's expanding our trail network. And we have, as part of the mowing over at Bush Hill Farm site, then we are mowing in trails to expand our trail network on that site as well. We've seen a lot of increase in trail use, obviously, during the last few months, and so we're expanding our trails on both of those sites. And on a separate topic, I had a conversation this afternoon with Blaine Phillips from the Conservation Fund regarding the 254 acres in Beaver Valley, which were preserved a few years ago. And my understanding from Blaine is that that the transfer of that land into the National Park Service has received approvals from all levels of the National Park Service and sign off from the Assistant Secretary of the Interior, and that land is anticipated to close and move into the National Park by the end of this year. And then that national park, the First State National Historical Park, has a new superintendent, and they have agreed to rename the overall 1,000 plus now 1,200 acres as the Brandywine Valley unit, and will be putting signage up with regard to Beaver Valley specifically. But as they do new signage and things like that, it will certainly take into account the land that is in Concord Township now. And I brought up with him some of the parking concerns that we have along Beaver Valley Road, especially during peak summer weekends. And so he's bringing that to the superintendent's attention as well. But the headline news there is that it has received full park sign-off to be transferred in and will be done this year.
Good news. Okay, motion to adjourn.
So moved.
Second.
Second.
All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Thank you for coming out.
Aye.
Be safe.
Aye.
Thank you.